The Biden administration has unveiled a new multi-agency regulatory plan to target corporate practices that officials claim waste consumers' time and burden them with red tape. As part of the plan, the CFPB will be looking into when the use of automated chatbots and automated AI voice recordings break the law, including situations where customers think they're speaking to an actual person. Joining us right now is Rohit Chopra. He's the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Good morning to you. How is this going to work, and how much freedom should companies have as it relates to putting you on the phone with a real person versus putting you on the phone with an AI bot?
Well, I think we're going to see companies do all of the above. I think one of the core of what we are trying to do with this set of actions is note something real that's happening in the economy. Investors are rewarding companies for, number one, shifting to subscription models, and two, trying to find ways to lower those costs. But here's the problem. We see that those subscriptions can become sometimes impossible to cancel. And we also see that those customer service cost reductions often lead to chaos for consumers. So we are trying to make sure that it is easy and simple to cancel those subscriptions, a click-to-cancel model, and the FTC is working on a rule for that. And at the CFPB, we're trying to make sure that when you are talking to a chatbot or if you are navigating some sort of phone tree, you aren't sent into customer service oblivion and you actually can get the answers when you need to. So we're talking to a lot of people about how can we get this right, because consumers are sick and tired of all of this runaround.
Okay, here's a question, though, about the click-to-cancel subscription business. There are a whole number of businesses that do have a subscription model, but effectively what you're really signing up for is a contract oftentimes for, call it 12 months, to pay a certain amount a month every month. I don't know if that's always appreciated by some subscribers. There was a piece of software that I had subscribed to. I didn't realize I was paying, I don't know, it was $19 a month, and I thought, I don't need this. But when I got rid of it, it said you still have 6 months to go, meaning you're going to have to keep paying for the next 6 months, whether you could pay a lump sum right now or not. How much of this is about disclosure early on about how this all works?
Well, certainly people do get surprised about those early termination junk fees and things like that. A lot of the subscriptions, though, that you do see on financial products, gym memberships, others, they often don't have a contract. Companies want to say they have this ongoing recurring revenue. And of course, when they're trying to optimize for that, they want to make it so that you have to navigate an obstacle course to cancel. What the rule will try and do is make it as simple to cancel as it was to sign up. We're also seeing how banks and credit card issuers are going to help consumers block those recurring charges. But again, it has been a big shift in the economy, Andrew, of lots of companies wanting that monthly revenue rather than just a one-time charge, because they think many people.
How much of this is, though, about working with the banks and about creating either apps or even working with some of the technology companies? I'm thinking of Google and Apple, for example. So you can literally just go in and say, I want this, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want this. But also, then there's the flip side of this, which is the business. And I think to myself, we're in the TV business, streaming. If you sign up for one of these things, if everybody can click on and off, every month, choose, it's great for the consumer, but it may change the ultimate economics of these businesses to the point where either they have to raise prices or do something else because the economics don't make sense if there isn't the reoccurring revenue piece of it.
Yeah, but you can't build a business model that is really about making it tougher or making it complex in order for the consumer to exercise what is often a contractual right. I mean, this is sometimes about them being much more upfront. And you're right, Andrew. It's going to be clear. It's important to have clear disclosure. But it's also, we've seen it. We've taken enforcement actions against some of these companies that have completely hidden how you can actually cancel, sometimes have to click 18 different menus to find it. I mean, that just isn't right. And I think that's something that most Americans know is just common sense, that you got to be able to figure out how it's easy to cancel some of those recurring charges. Honestly, if companies are building the economics around frustrating consumers, that doesn't speak well for them.
Okay, we got to run, but I have two quick questions. On the AI bot, if when I call up the airline or whomever it is, if it says this is an AI bot, is that acceptable to you? As long as they just disclose that it's not a person?
That would be a big step forward. We are seeing companies, Bank of America calls their chatbot Erica, and there's ways in which they are trying to simulate more of a human interaction. One step is making it super clear that you're not talking to a human, and another is giving consumers an easy way when they're the victim of identity theft, have some sort of urgent issue, to be able to speak to somebody.
Okay. Rohit, we want to thank you. I want two things. I want a rule, so when I say representative, or operator, you know what you're telling the machine to do, and then it won't go, and then it's saying, what are you calling about?
I need to know more about your request, and they pull you back in the doom loop.
If you can fix that, and maybe there should be a time limit.
That's the doom
I actually
loop.
want to know.
That is the doom loop, and they hope that you will hang up, and that's what we have to stop.
Should there be a time limit on hold time for certain kinds of businesses?
Depends on how good the music is.
Well, no, but I wonder whether for airlines or for a cable company or for something that seems like you need to actually reach these people.
But what if there's an outage and the wait time
I don't know.
is much
I just wonder maybe after half an hour there should actually be a fine. That would actually force the issue. By the way, make tickets more expensive. But have you thought about that? Is that a good or terrible idea?
Well, it's not always simple, but we do see when companies have major transfers, they're transferring all the mortgages from one company to another. Things can go wrong, and sometimes they badly understaff it, and you have people who are really dealing with trouble. Sometimes when there's outages and there's no way to reach someone. So we're going to look at all the ways in which automation can help, but it can also lead to disaster. So we will take your suggestion, Andrew, to heart.